thing. Okay, so yeah, guys. So as you can see, hello world gets printed, right? Which means that this particular function is being executed first. So you guys got to know what the main function is doing. So what is run app doing? Okay, so what run app is doing is, now you have a Flutter app. Okay, you leave this part. Let's assume it's something. It's an app. So run app, what it is doing is just is taking all those contents and it is putting somewhere. Right? Like it's like holding it and it's like, okay, this app would be run. So this is the root. Like this is the what is the root of the tree. So from here everything will originate. This is like from where the app will start. So that is what. So this is the run app function. So I have for you guys, I have written it somewhere. Okay, I have written it somewhere. So run app is basically uh, it like takes that particular widget and it puts over in the root. Like root means it starts from there. Okay. So I'll also have something called Zite. So, okay. So till that opens. So now you okay, what am I doing here? Run app, run a Flutter app. Now what is this? What is this? So Flutter app is basically a stateless widget. So as I said earlier, what is a widget? If I don't know if it was covered in the first session, but what is a widget? So see, widget is in the app. Okay, let's say you have this app, right? This is something you call a button, right? This is a button. What is this? This is a text. What is this? This is a this is also text, and this is a text, and this is an app bar, something like that. All these things, but all of them are inherently a widget, right? So basically, you are. I am Shashank. My friend is Vinny. He is Anirudh. But all of us are humans, and humans is are what makes the society, right? So some a society you correlate it with app. Widgets make app, like app is created using widgets, and widgets can be of many types, which we see here. So basically at this point widgets are like of two types: stateless widget and stateful widget. So what are these, like okay, so let's see, what from the name, what does it what can you infer? Like stateless widget means a widget which does not have any state. So okay, what does a state mean then? So let's take an example of me. In what state am I? I'm in. I can currently say I'm in a happy state because I'm in my holidays, and I can say I am in a healthy state, and all those things. So there are some values or parameters that define me. Similarly, for a widget also there can be a parameters. Like for example, let's assume this is a widget, right? This zero thing, it's changing. So I can say that this widget has a value to it. So that value we can infer it as a state. So that is the state of the widget. So now the widgets who do not have a state or whose state is constant, like it's not changing. So this button, okay, it's not changing. It's like constant. It doesn't have to change. It's like it's just sitting there. So that's a stateless widget. But this thing, right? This four, it has a value called, it has a value that I'll show you afterward, and it's changing, right? The value is changing. The 1, 2, 3. It's like changing. So that is a stateful widget. So initially here we have, okay, guys, did you get that? That is like really important for you guys. So did you guys get cleared with what's a stateful widget versus a stateless widget? All the people who got it raised their hands. Yes, Devis got great. Yes, others, like, do you have any doubt or shall I explain it again? Just think of a correlate a table with like not a table, just in the app itself, something that changes and something that doesn't change. So here, this button, it never changes. It's like the same every time. But here, this particular UI is changing, whereas this background isn't changing anytime. So that is why it's a stateful widget. So like something on the similar lines. Okay, if no one has any doubts, I think we'll move on. So now we have a stateless widget. So that has a build function. So guys, I think I asked a question about override, right? So what does override do? I'll just show you an example, right? So basically, let's assume I have a class called animal class. Uh, okay. And then I have a class called cat, which extends animal because cat is also an animal. Then I have a class called dog, which also extends the class animal because dog is also an animal. So what does extend mean? Extend, just think that extend means it's inheriting all the properties. So let's assume we have animal, right? Animals live, animals like can walk, animals can talk in the sense do any make any sound or something. So now all the other, I'm an animal, the cat is an animal, dog is an animal. So these things have in some inherent properties, right? So that is what we define in the animal class. And then we have the class cat that extends. So it gets its properties, some of these properties from animal. Now, one thing is that see, a dog makes a different sound and a cat makes a different sound, right? So that is why we use override function. So here I have defined the function sound, which will print hello. But dog won't say hello, right? So dog would like bark. So that is what I'm doing is I'm overriding and I'm creating my own function sound equals to print bark. But for cat, I'm not doing it. So when I write cat.sound, it prints hello. But when I use dog.sound, it prints bark. That is the thing. Override. Override is you are just creating a new function, overriding a new function over the function that you inherited from the class. That's all about it. So we have a build function somewhere in this stateless widget. So Flutter app, this is the widget. This is a class that I created. It extends it gets its properties from widget. So the developers of Flutter, they made some properties for widgets, okay? And we are just using those. So just leave that all. If you guys didn't get it, just I'll skip it. Then we have the material app, okay? This is the thing you need to focus. Okay, just leave the override method. You will just get to know about it. So what does material app mean? Now you tell me. Every app, right? So has some like in distinct features like let's assume colors or like you can navigate to one page to another, and like the text or like all the wrapper, everything that is wrapped around it. So that is what material class does. So like if you want a more theory like on a textbook definition, it's like it's a wrapper for an application that ties together the theme, navigator, observer, routes, titles, etc. So basically, is just one thing you remember: material app is necessary. It's like it should be in the root because it basically handles all the internal things for the app that you can't see. It's like it's sort of an abstraction, right? So your app running in the background, app running in the foreground, or like how the app runs, which thing is in top of others. All these things, the internal implementation is handled by material app. That is done. So now let's do first change to the app. So what is the theme? Like theme, guys, like do you know like we have a party theme, right? So everyone dresses according to that. So apps can also have a theme. Apps can have a color palette. Like, okay, so we'll only use these colors, something like that. Currently, I'm using theme.dark, which means that my app would be in a dark mode sort of setting wherein every color would be suited according to a dark, how it would be in a dark mode. If I make this as dot light, then I just run this app. So as you can see, this is the how the app would look in a light mode. But what I can do is I can like just change this. I can create my own theme. Like it can be a mixture of those. So see here I have all these colors that I can define, right? As you can see, cursor color, text selection color. So let's go to primary color. Um, Primary color. So how do you define colors in Flutter? One easy way is just write capital C colors, okay, not color, dot the color name. So I can write color dot red. Okay. So if I run, as you can see, this color, this particular app bar is getting its color from these two properties. So that is why I have defined here, and then it gets changed, right? It is changing its color over here. So I'll just keep it back. I'll make it again, like I'll just do it dot dark. So okay, now here we got it. Now we have the home widget. So what is the home? It's basically a first screen. Okay, first screen of your app. So as you call like home, like something you return to. So that is the first screen of your app. So in that we are passing something called my home page with a title parameter. So what is my home page? Now, here I have created my homepage, right? So it is a stateful widget. So guys, this is not boilerplate code, okay? So you can just write your own also. So let's assume I'll write stateful widget. I'll write new homepage, and here inside I'll return let's say a container. Okay, and I'll pass this thing over here. So as you can see, it gave me something like here I have hello world three times. So home is like you can place your own widgets. So initially what it was my home page, right? So let's see. Now you guys got that. So where is it? Where is it? Okay, my home page. Let's see what my home page is. So first information that you can see is my homepage is a stateful widget. So what does that mean? It means there's some properties of my homepage that are bound to change. Okay, we'll see what properties are there. And then this is something called title. Oh, okay. So what is that? So basically, when you create a class, you can have some parameters, right? So let's say in this Dart, this is a Dart pad, like where you can write Dart code. So I'll create another class. I'll just delete everything. Wait, I'll not delete everything. Okay. I'll just remove this. I'll write class let's say person, and then I can write string name. He can have a name, right? So then we create a constructor, and then we pass on his name. So now if when I create this man's class, like person equals to, then I'll just write his name. Like I can write his name as Shashank itself, and then like while accessing, I can write person print person dot name. So when I run this, what do you think would be the output be? What do you think the output would be? My name, because this is what the class, like I'm passing this dot name over here, and this is getting set to this value, this particular string, this particular variable, and that is what I'm call printing over here. That is why I got this. So basically, title, I'm sending the title from here, and this title is being like it's as a parameter, it's being asked. Now let's see where this title is being used. I think we'll see it in some time. So okay, you leave this part. I will come to that later. Okay, now there's a variable called int counter. Now, okay, let's change this value to let's say 10, and then I'll run my app. And okay, so okay, yeah. So I changed it to 10 here, and it here also it appears 10. So which means that this is the variable that we are using to display the number over here. And this is a variable that is changing also. So if this variable is changing and this variable belongs to which class? This homepage class, right? And this is changing. So that is why it's a stateful widget. So got it, guys, how it works, right? So here, this was a stateless widget. It doesn't have any properties that is changing. Here, this is a stateful widget, my homepage, and it has a property. It's counter. Counter is like you can think of it as a property for this particular homepage, and it's changing. That is why it's a stateful widget. Now, okay, let's see some. Okay, we again have a build method, and let's see what this do. So build method runs, and like once the build method runs, right, your app would get built, right? Like so, I'll just write print. Like this particular widget will get built. So I write print building the homepage. And if I run, and you can see I got a message called a print called building the home page. I ran it again. So this particular method is called, and what it is returning is it is returning a scaffold. Okay, what is scaffold now? So scaffold is, you can think of it as a structure. So structure of app. So what is the general structure of an app? So let's see WhatsApp UI. So in the WhatsApp UI, you have this, right? You have this green thing, and then you have this. So this is the app bar, like the top bar, or in Flutter it's called app bar, and this is the body. So so basically, to get this structure, you have scaffold. So we use scaffold. So basically, okay, we are returning scaffold. In scaffold, we have these many properties. We have app bar, we have body, we have floating action button, we have floating action button location, we have drawer, we have some function called on. This is like the method name and like the parameter name, and this is the it's what do you say class like it's type. Sorry, it's type. So in scaffold we have three we in this particular there are many properties, and we have used three properties: app bar, body, and floating action button. So first, let's go app bar to see app bar. Guys, you are with me till here, right? Anyone has any doubt? Oh, sorry. Aditya, you had any doubt?
Yeah, yes, I have a doubt.
Yeah,
In the official Flutter documentation, that flutter.dev website, I have read
yeah,
that Flutter applications can be created even without using the material app widget.
yeah, yeah.
How to
You
do
can
that?
do it. You can use other. See, the thing is, you can use Cupertino app widgets. There are some other different widgets that you can use. But the thing is, you cannot like uh, if you directly return scaffold or anything, either it may not run or some functionalities won't work.
Okay.
So I in the see the thing is the material app, it basically contains all the properties related to some specific set of devices. And then
Okay.
we also have other types of widgets that you'll use on different devices. But the thing is, like widgets like material app is required because see, the material app does, other than some important things, it does things like maintaining the app lifecycle and all, which other widgets do not do. So that is why you need that. Okay.
Okay.
um and that's all.
And I have
So
another doubt.
yeah,
I mean, how do like the emulator you just set up is an Android emulator, right?
yeah.
How do we set up an iOS emulator in VS Code?
um Anirudh,
Yes,
Anirudh,
Xcode,
are you there? Anirudh or Vinith?
Xcode.
Okay. Like Aditya, like
Yeah.
we will get like that. I will text you personally, or like you just ping me a message. I'll text you. Ping me
Okay.
or Anirudh or Vinith, any of us, and we'll text you.
Okay.
Preferably do it with Anirudh and Vinith because they worked with the iOS thing. So
Okay.
okay. So moving on. Anyone has any other doubts? Guys, I skip like now we after some time we'll be building another app. So just okay. I think I'm going a little slow. So let's start. Okay. So now app bar, as you can see in the app bar, we have another app bar itself is a widget. So app bar has many properties like leading, automatically implies leave it, title. Okay. I think title, we are using title. So what is the title? Title is basically this thing, the Flutter demo homepage. This is what is the title. And but title itself has a type called widget. So you can't pass a text over here, like text in the sense you can't write like this. Okay, this is my title. You have to pass another widget. So we are passing another widget called text. And now what does text widget do? It just displays text, like displays a string. So in the text widget, as you can see, you have a data, something called data, and its type is string. So this thing is displayed onto the screen. So now, as you can see, I just remove this and just write my app. Okay. Oh, it got changed. It changed to my app. If I write your app, okay, it will change again. So what was it before? It was widget.title. Widget.title refers to this element, this particular variable. So, and how did this variable get its value? It got it from here, Flutter demo homepage. So if I change something over here, like I'll change it to homepage. So now, as you can see, I have this over here, homepage. So we can do it like this, or just we can remove the whole thing. Okay, I don't want to pass like this parameter itself from here. I'll just do it over here. Let's say you want to do that. So you remove the whole title thing, and then you come here and you just write your own like text. I'll write homepage. Now, okay, you wrote the homepage, and but now the thing is, you don't like the style of the homepage. Uh, but before you want to align it, like you don't want it to be in, you want it to be in the center. So you see, AppBar has a property, another property called where is it? I don't. Is AppBar, does AppBar have it or? Okay, leave it. I think I got confused. It does AppBar doesn't have a property. So let's assume you want to change the color of this particular text. So you see in the text widget, there's a many parameter that you can change, and one of them is style. So let's see what style does is. So let's see style. Okay, I write style, and I have to, what do I have to assign it? I have to assign it a class like called text style. So I'll write text style. Okay. Now I have, okay, so I'll just write it in a better way for you guys to get it. So now what does text style have? Textile has many options. Color. Okay, I can write color. So I'll write first. So I'll write color. Colors dot red. Let's assume. Okay, let's see what all other options I have. I have background color. Okay, I write background color. Red colors dot yellow. Oh, background color has another. Okay, and then let's see another things. Okay, let's see if is it working or not. If I say Control S, sorry.
Can you repeat that part again?
Yeah.
Side to side.
Okay, so am I audible now? So
Yeah.
I'll just go to the style over here, and okay, I'll write the style, and its style is like what is a property of a text. Okay, and then for like to write what kind of style is, I just can't write okay, style is like this should be red in color, this should be red in color. I can't write it, so I have to use an object which is defined by it, and the object that is defined by this, sorry, the class that is defined by style is text. So I'll write text style. Okay, and then I'll write color. Colors dot it was white, and I'll change it to gray. No, I'll change it to red. Now if I save it, as you can see, the color of this particular thing got changed. What I can do is I can also change the font size. I'll change the font size. I'll make it 20. I'll make it 30, let's say, and it got changed. And if Let's see all the other properties that I can do. I can do letter spacing. Okay, let's see what letter spacing is. I'll just hover over here and it says the amount of space to add each letter. Great. What type should I use? Double. So I know I can't use string here. I'll get an error. So I'll have to use double. So I'll write 2. So to make it more apparent, I'll use 5. So I think there's some spacing, right? So if I write 0, there's no spacing. So that is what you can do with a style property. Okay. And then this is like title is one of the property for AppBar. There are many other properties, like let's say there's elevation, right? So I'll try to test out elevation. So elevation, I'll write so let's say 10. Oh, as you can see, the shadow is changed. There's a change in the shadow. It's like got elevated. If I make it 100, as again something like it's like 100, like it's just some 100 values above it. So if I make it 0, as you can see, it just came back to its original place. So these are some properties that you can what do you say, work around with and like change how the appearance of the app looks. So this was about the app bar. Now let's come to the body. So in the body, you have a center widget. From the name itself, you can just get to know that center widget, what it does, it just puts the object in the center. Let's say I remove this widget. And I remove this widget and it's just a column. Let's see how it will look now. As you can see, it's like over here in this particular, it's like not in the center, it's left aligned. But now if I had center widget, it gets pushed to the center. Now, okay, you got cleared center. So body, just to make it clear, body some that appears below app bar, right? All these things, it's body of the app. Now, what is center? You got it clear center is in. Now, what center has a child. So see, every widget, like some widgets like this, they have child widgets like a center widget. It wraps another widget like let's assume you have a widget called X. So center widget wraps X. So it gives X some properties like it something like it makes it center in that particular area. That is why it has something, a parameter called child that accepts the widget. Now in the child widget, we have column. Okay, so column is another widget. So let's see how is the definition of column. Yeah, it's another widget. Column extends flex will extend something like this, and it goes on, and then render object widget, and then it goes to widget. So column is also a widget. What do you think column would do? Basically, column is like uh, array of lists, array of widgets that are like put in a column, like in like one below other. So now column will also have widgets, but it won't have one widget. It will have many widgets. So that is why it has this children property. Center can have only one widget under it. Like it can be a parent of only one widget. So it has a child. Column can be parent of many widgets, so it has children. So leave this property as of now. So here we have many widgets. Like, okay, we have first, again, we come across text widget, that is you push this button this many times. Okay, I am getting it. Let's change it. I'll change it to my name, Shashank. Okay, so it got changed. Let's say I want to add another widget. So I'll add for another widget over here. Okay, it got added another over here below this. So basically, how is it this widget? My name is Shashank, and then I have another text widget. But here I am displaying the value of the counter. Where was this counter first encountered? Here. This is a variable. So I am just displaying the value of this particular variable over here. Like what I could do is like I could just display the value of this counter into 100. Let's say. So yeah, I'm the first value that I'm displaying is 1000. And then it's like 1900 because it's a multiple of 100. So that is the column widget. Yeah. Any doubts? Okay. No doubts. Then we'll move on. So that was the column widget. I'll just a second. So now after the column widget, let's just close this body thing and we have another thing called floating action button. This is not a necessary thing to have, right? So I'll just remove this and I'll just run that. Okay, this button got disappeared. But yeah, we could have that button for some functionality. So we have this button. We have this floating action button. Just it basically floats. Like it's a button that is floating in front of your body, above your body. And then for floating action button, you take a widget. So it's not necessarily you have this. So in floating action button, you can have a text also. Okay, let's say you have text and I'm saying hello. And see, as you can see, it's there. It's like hello over is present over. Yeah, if you guys can see my mouse that I'm hovering around. So for now, but we use a floating action button widget that's specifically made for this. So here, what options does this have? It has a tooltip called increment. What does tooltip do? Like I just again run it. So tooltip does is it when you hover around it, or then just when you long press it, it will tell you what this does is okay. It increments. So as you can see, it's increment. What's the child of this particular widget is an icon. So instead of icon, let's assume I have a text. Text uh, press. As you can see, I got something in press or increment. Okay. As you can see here, this particular thing widget has a child that is present inside it. So I'll just keep it as it is, icon data. Now, on clicking this, right, this particular thing is changing. How is it happening? This counter widget is changing. How is it happening? So, as you can see, there's another thing property called OnPressed. So, this thing now we'll have to tell that Flutter app that okay, if you press this on pressing this particular button, what should be done? So, what I do is I pass a function, increment a counter. So, what this thing is doing is it is in this is executing something. So I'll just write print incrementing. Okay, I'll just write print incremented. Now let's see if this thing is getting printed or not. So I'll create the console and I'll just write print. Okay, this is getting printed, which means this function is getting executed. Okay, I'll remove that now. That's clear. But you guys may ask like why I have this thing called set state and like I just can remove and just I can write counter plus plus, right? Okay, I'll just do that. And then I'll just write, I'll just start the app from the first. Okay, the initial value is 10, which I specified over here as 10. Now I write plus, 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 plus. Okay, nothing is happening over here. Let's see if the function is being called. It may happen that the function is being not being called. Increase. Okay, I'm calling the function. Let's see if that is being called. Again, run the app from the beginning. Okay, the function is being called. The counter variable. If the function is being called, the counter variable is increasing. Why isn't this updating? Now, just think where is all this thing present? It's present over here, right? And where is this thing present? It's present in the this function, build function. So now, unless and until the build function gets executed, I can't expect this thing to change, right? So I'll just write a print statement over here. Okay, print building. I'll write building the widget. Okay, now, okay, I got the building the widget once. Now I'm just running, I'm pressing on this button, but I'm not able to build this widget again and again. And for that reason, guys, note this down. And for that reason, we use set state, something called set state. So you just have to write set, okay, set, and then you'll get an hint. Just it's like set state with the second S capital, ST state. And then inside that, you can write a function. So set state, it basically encloses the functions inside it. So now you can write any function, any operation that you want to do here. Now I want to do the counter operation plus. Okay, I'll do it here now. Yeah. Vinith, where did I cut off?
After like putting counter inside set state.
Yeah. So now I ran the app again. Okay. Now let's see what is happening. I'll just press plus. Okay. Building the widget. Once it got built, so this got printed. Okay. Now I'll press again. Okay. This changed. This became 11. What happened was first increment was printed, which means this thing got executed first, and that set state got executed. And as you can see, due to set state being executed, this particular thing was called again. Build function was called again. And due to build function being called again, this particular thing, print building the widget got called again. And you can see it got printed over here. And as this got called again, now the body will have the new value of counter. And that is why it it the counter is the 11, right? And it got rebuilt again. So that is why we have this 11 over here. It got updated. And if I do it again, the same thing is happening over here. So this is what set state is, and it's like a really, really crucial part of like Flutter, because without set state, your app would just like, okay, you can just see things, you can't do any changes, right? So this is very necessary to learn. So you guys have any doubt, I'll explain it again. I don't mind doing it. So guys, any doubt? See all the, I think, guys, any doubt? Hello, hello. All those people who do not have any doubt, just raise your hands, like so that I can move on. Don't worry, I won't ask anyone. Okay. Any doubts or anything? Like I won't question anyone. But yeah, if you genuinely still have any doubt, you can ask me. Okay. Great. Okay. Let's move. So guys, now you guys will have to answer, like not answer, like just put it in the chat box. So now, what do you think would be here? The what do you think would be the output, like equals to counter star twice. Now, what do you think would happen? Like whenever I call set state. Okay, a better doubt here. I'll just write this as +1, and then I'll write counter. Okay, better doubt. Guys, now you tell me, just a yes or no. Will the counter value update or not? Just an yes or no. Like, will the counter value update or not? Like now, if I run the function, I just change this. The counter, like this counter plus plus thing was inside the set state, but now it is outside the set state. Now you just tell me. No need to, like, if you guys can answer in the voice, you can. Otherwise, just put it in the chat box. Will the value of counter change? Like here in the app, in the view, will it change? Yes or no, guys? Fast, fast.
Hello.
Yeah.
If it is
Who
outside
is it?
set state, then it will not change in the view.
Okay. What, Harshadhan, can you like let's recall what does set state do?
Set state updates the widget.
That is the important thing. What does set state do? It calls the build function. Okay. It
Yes.
calls the build function. So the thing is, counter is getting incremented. Like you can put it you can like write it in the chat because your voice is breaking. I can't hear it. Is everyone facing the same thing? Like, Vinit, are you able to hear him?
Actually, your voice got.
Vinit or Anirudh, are you able to hear him?
Yeah.
Guys, it would be really unfair if you are not telling, and if I'm still audible and you guys aren't telling, right?
You're audible.
Yeah, okay. So see, everyone, I'll just again tell you. Set state, what set state does it? It calls the build function. Okay, so I'll just move this counter thing and all. Let's see what happens now. I'll write plus, 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 and you can see the building the widget. This thing is getting called because that's what set state will do. It will just call this build function again and again. So now if I increment the counter variable before it, then also my variable would get updated because what I am doing is I am incrementing the counter and then I'm calling the build function. So my build function has a new value of counter. Set state, you can execute things inside set state. That is not an issue. But the thing is, the main concept that you have to remember is set state calls the build function. And if any of these variables that are present over here, these variables, if they change, right, the build function will use those new values. So counter thing, it's changing. I'm writing counter plus plus. And now you think that build function is getting called. So now you tell me which which value of counter it will use. It will use a new counter, right? So, so the answer would be it will still change. Like as you can see over here, if I write here, as you can see, it's still changing, and I don't have counter plus plus inside set state. So that's done. So guys, any doubt? So if you guys don't have any doubt, I'll just quickly make a short app, something like a basically a calculator sort of thing. If you guys are interested, or if you guys have any doubts, what do you guys want? Like, I can create another basic app right in front of you right now, a calculator app, which will I can explain more widgets to you, or we can like uh, go there. We can like discuss the test papers, or we can discuss any doubts that you have. Tech, whatever you guys want. Vinith, what do you suggest we do?
Anything is fine. If it's test paper, we can discuss. It'll be better.
Okay. Okay, okay, we will do that. But guys, if you guys want me to make another app, even if you guys want me to take another session tomorrow itself, so we can have that. There's 5 minutes left to the meeting. Oh, can't I extend the meeting time? Can I do that?
I think it automatically gets extended.
It does, right?
Yeah, most probably. Okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So guys, yeah, I'll ask you the last time. Like, should I make an app now, or you want it in another session tomorrow, day after tomorrow, anywhere before like next Sunday, where I'll just create another app just so that you can get guys have an idea, or we'll go directly to the test paper discussion, discussing the test paper. So,
Anything is fine.
okay. So I think we can go discuss the test. Or like, let's do one basic thing. Okay, I'll just show you one example. So in the scaffold, let's remove these things. And instead of a column thing, we'll have, okay, let's have a column itself. And then we have a widget called row. We'll have, we'll have a widget called text field, text input field. What was it? Text form field, sorry, yeah, text form field. And in that, okay, we have this property called decoration. And so let's see how it works. Okay, it shows name, write your name, something like that. So I'll just change it to write. Label text should be first number. And like the input should be a number. I feel the input should be a number, right? So the keyboard type, what I'll write it, keyboard. Okay, what was the, okay, text input type dot number. So now if I see, I'll get first number, and when I click on this, I can just input numbers over here. I can write 25, something like that. Okay, now I'll create two of these fields. So I create two of these fields. And now when I create these two of these fields, I can see, okay, oh, these are like, they have this, what do you say? They are very close. For that, I have another widget. You know, we have margin and we have padding. We'll use padding. So padding will help you create a space like between the widget border and the content of the widget. So what I have to do is, like, this is my widget, right? So let's assume I create another widget called padding. And I have created this widget. And padding will have a child. So the child would be this particular widget. I'll just cut it here, and I'll paste it over here. So this would be my child for padding. And what is the padding? So padding, I think I'll have to define it. So just for now, you remember it. It's like edge inside. If I write edges inside.all, then it will give me a padding of 10. Like it will give me a space from everywhere. Like as you can see, the space here, this doesn't have a padding, so it's like extends towards the whole screen. But this has padding. So here it's like spaces of 10. If I write it as, if I make it 20, as you can see, it just decrease. The space here is empty over here, and it got increased. So similarly, I'll do it for here. I'll just wrap it under padding. Okay. So yes, done. Now I want to access these numbers, right? So for that also, I'll create another variable. So just don't worry too much about it. So text editing controller, first number, second number. So these are basically controllers to control what is happening in this particular input field. So I'll just designate it, and okay, designate it. Now here we'll print the result. We'll print. I'll just so we'll have a text widget. We'll write the result is, and then we'll write counter. We'll write a sum. So for that, we'll have to create another widget called sum. So write int sum equals to 0. Okay. Now, if you can see how our app looks like this. Now what I'll do, in my floating action button, this is increment counter, right? So I'll go there. I'll write another function called void add numbers. And there I'll pass two numbers, int a, int b, and there I'll write set state. Set state. Set state. Here I can write sum equals to a plus b, or I can write sum here also. That's not an issue. So now I'll have to pass this function. So I'll just remove over here, and I'll write like I'll call this function inside the OnPressed thing. So I'm just calling, instead of passing the function, I'm just calling this function over here. Like this is also function, right? So here, add numbers. What am I doing here? I'm just, so basically what am I doing? first number, what was it? It was a controller, right? First number, it was a controller that I assigned to this form field. So from that I can control the form field. So from that I can also access the text of it. So okay, I got the text dot text means all the things that appears that I write over here, right? All the numbers that I write over here, this is the text, and I can access it over here. But this is a type of string. So what I do is I make it a number. So I write in dot parse. So when I write in dot parse, it converts the string to a number. So now when I run the app, as you can see, now if I write 324, if I add, okay, I'll just use simpler numbers. Okay, I'll use simpler numbers. I'll write 1 and then I'll write 2. And then when I click add, the result is 3. And if I make this 22, and then I click it, the result is 23. So basically what is happening over here is this thing is getting updated, like it's just doing a basic addition operation. So yeah, that was a normal example. So these are some other widgets that you can use. And there are a hell lot of widgets that are present in Flutter, which you can use to make your app really great. So that was about it, some basic introduction about a basic Flutter app. So we'll go on to the test, right? So okay, we'll go on to the test. Yeah, guys, you had any doubt with the app? That app? Nothing, right? So not nothing. Like, you guys had any doubt? No doubts? Okay, so coming on to the quiz. So the first question was the default value of uninitialized variables in Dart is okay. So as you can see in a Dart function, you can initialize a variable like in two ways, right? Like you can just write it as int, let's say int number, and another one is int question mark number. So in the second case, I'll write number 2. So in the second case, when I write int question mark, it means that the value of number 2 is automatically null, because question mark suggests that that particular variable can be either an integer or a null value. So when I print number 2, I'll get, as you can see, just a second, it's running. Yeah, where did I stop? Okay, so here I have two variables, number 2 and number, and number 2 is int question mark, which means that it can be either an int or it can either be an int or a null value. What is happening? Just a second. Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah. As I was before, like as I said, so this function, right? Now if I execute this, it's taking so much time. Yeah, it prints null because the value of number 2 is null. But if I just print 1, let's see what it prints. Okay, it prints number not initialized, so it prints undefined, like it gives an error. So, but if I had written it like 10, like let's say I had written it as 10, it wouldn't have given me an error, because this number, this okay, I'll just write this A and this as B. Now a can only be an integer. It cannot be anything other than that. But b can be an integer and a null value. So when I initialize it as like this, it becomes a null. Otherwise, it is. Otherwise, if I write into b equals to 10, or like if I write it 20, and I am printing a also, and let's see what happens. Both I'll get 10 and 20 over here. But if this wasn't there, it means the default value is null. So that's about the first question. No doubts. We move on to the next question. Guys, we move on to the next question. Raise hands. Raise hands. Those are okay. I think we'll move to the next question. The next question was an override thing, and okay, I think these all would just confuse you. But the thing is, what override does is, I think I had written over here. Okay, where had I written? So basically, you have a parent class, and it has some properties, methods, and then you have a child class. So the child class overrides means it creates its own methods, which it gets from the parent class. That's all you have to remember, right? Like that, the example that I had showed, right? The animal, the class animal had a function called sound, where it used to print hello. But the class it extended, which means it got its properties from there, from the animal channel, animal class. And but the thing was, cat has its own property, so it overrided the properties of animal, the sound property, the sound method, and it made its own. Like it printed, it called print meow or print bar for in case of dog. So that is just override. That's all you have to think about. So moving on to the next question. What is this? Choose an appropriate keyword to replace X in the following question. So we have class sample int X int A sample this dot A print A. Now here I have two options, final or late. Like I have four options, right? So const or final, we have final, late, or static. We have final or late. So let's try doing it. Like first, let's see why late is correct. So what late variable does it? It says that, okay, that particular variable, like let's assume I haven't initialized the variable. What late tells the compiler is that, okay, this particular variable will surely get initialized afterwards. That is the guarantee of the developer. So do not raise any errors right now. That's what late does. Now what final does is, final is like this particular variable is okay. So once you define a variable as a final, and once you set some value to it, you can't change it. So that's what final is. Like once, like let's assume I have written final int a. I've written final, and then if I try to change the value of a as a equals to 20, I can't, because as you can see, the final variable a can only be set once. But let's assume I hadn't set it over here. Now they are gone because I'm setting it over here. But now if I do it like a equals to 10 or 120, I'll get another because I'm setting it again. So that is there. So like here, these two are correct. Like final, you got to know that final and late are correct. Now let's see why const or static is wrong. So basically, is the thing is, if you write const over here, right? So if you had written const, and if you had the const and final are somewhat similar, but the thing with const is it fixes the variable's value before like compilation, right? So const means the value of a is constant, that is there, but it should be set here itself. It should not be like it cannot be defined afterwards. Like if I write const 10 a, and then if I write a equals to 10, I'm not changing the value of a anywhere again. But the thing is, you can't do that. const value must be initialized where it has been referenced, like where it has been declared. So this is this. That is why you const is not a good is not appropriate here. And then you can't use static also. Let's say I'm using static over here, because the thing is, just like,
You are not audible again.
am I not audible?
Yeah, now you are audible.
So the thing is, static variables, you use like, so basically, whenever I used to create a like a object of that class, I used to write sample, and then I used to write this like to define it properly, like just like I write integer, right, int, and then I write the variable name. I write sample, and then I write the variable name, like let's say it's a, and then I write a constructor. So many a times you do not need a constructor. There are some constant values that are present in that particular class that you need to access. For that you use static. But here this is some parameter that you are taking in the constructor, right? So that is why we don't use static. So that is one thing that you guys have to know. So that is the reason the answer was final or late. Did you guys get it? Again, show of hands in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Only 2 people. Aryan, Priya. Guys, great that you guys are listening. Now, let's go to the next question. Anyone hasn't, like, let's see how many people did this question, right? So we'll question. Only one. Where was the question? Okay, leave it. I'll see it from here. So this question, right? Where did it go? Which of the following code snippets will take a date and return a year as a number? So, guys, before that, what do you guys know what split does? Okay, what split does? So let's say you have a number, you have a date like this, and like I just again have the void function. And let's say you have a date string. I'll just write it in string date equals to 12 slash 27 slash 12 slash 2022. Now, what split does is I'll have to first specify the like a parameter split. So split, I'll first specify the variable, and what it returns a list. So I'll have to store list, and I know it's a string in this case, so I'll store list L and okay. So what date.split, it returns a list first of all, and it takes the input and it splits the particular string wherever, like at those points wherever this particular thing is present. If I write run and I'm printing the list over here, so as you can see, it's printed 27, 12, and 22. So these are separate elements of the list. And how did these get separated? They got separated because this was occurring over here and this was occurring over here. Let's assume I remove this. I add some few. I add one more and I write here 90, 90, and I run. Now let's see what happens. Okay. Now we have 90, 90, and then okay. So it's like again it splits among on wherever this thing occurs, like the backslash occurs. Now you got to know that what split does. Now what you have to do, we have to return the year as a number. So okay, I'm splitting. This is my date. I'm splitting, and I know it's a list, and I know year would occur at the year would be the third element of it. So I'll just write dot third. Can I write dot third? Now I cannot write dot third because it's not a it's not the method, right? You cannot be obviously write dot third because like You can't invent it of your own. But how can you access the elements of a list? You can access it by indexing, right? So you can write 0. If I write like this, sorry, not here. If I write print L, if I write 0, let's see what gets printed. Only 27 gets printed. And this is slow. This is so slow. Just try to. No, I forgot the command to compile, but yeah, okay, I'll write it over here itself. So now L of 0 is printing 27, which means it's printing the first element. So if I want the third element, I'll write L of 3, which, as we follow zero-based indexing. So it's basically 2022 that I got the year. Now this particular thing, it's a string, right? So I want to convert it into an integer. So that is why I use in.parse. So because of this, the answer is this in.parse, because we are parsing it to a from integer. Date.split, because first we are splitting into three different components, and I'm choosing the third element in the array. Like second is the index of it, but third element is there. That is why this is the answer to this question. So guys, any doubt? Just one quick, if I wanted the date, what would have been the change? Like, what would have been the change for that particular thing? I'll just copy this and I'll paste it over here in the chat box, and you guys just copy that and tell me, just change that and tell me fast, really fast. What would have been the difference here if I wanted only the date, like the first day, like the day, not like the date, sorry, not year. Fast, guys. I will have to move on. I do not have much time. Okay. I think no one answered. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the right answer. Yes. Great. Okay. Now let's go. Choose the correct option. This is a tricky one. Choose the correct option among the following. Children's of stateless widgets can either be stateless or stateful. Okay. Children widgets of stateless can only be stateless, and these all the statements they are like can only, and this is either. So the real answer is children of stateless widgets can be stateless or stateful. The reason is if you have let's say you have a stateless widget and something, it looks like this, it looks something like this. This is a stateless widget, let's assume. And then you have a stateful widget over here, and then you have a stateless. So I'll write it as SL, and then I'll write it as SF. So when you update this stateful widget, right, only the contents of this particular widget is rebuilt, because we are building what does set state do? It rebuilds the build. It calls the build function again, and the build function builds this particular widget. So having a stateful widget inside a stateless widget doesn't affect it, because this thing isn't getting affected. It just this stateful widget, this part, it's getting rebuilt again and again and again. So it doesn't matter to it what's happening. Similarly, if let's assume I have a stateful widget and I have a stateless component in it. Okay, this is also not an issue. Why? Because when this is rebuilding again, this will also rebuild again and again. So there's like no issue with having multiple different widgets inside other, because every one of them are sort of in a way independent but also dependent. So there's no issue in having those. But so that is the doubt. So the thing is, stateful widgets can have stateful widgets can have stateless and inside him, and stateless widgets can have stateful widgets inside them. So not an issue. So the answer was A. Let's see what is happening. So person widget is a function that returns a widget to display. Say the current syntax. So the current syntax for here is this. Why? Let's see. Now let's first go from here. So here, so it's a row, right? What does a row widget do? Obviously, it's row widget is if you want to display multiple things in a row, you use row widget, and row has a parameter called children. And in children, what do you take? You take a list of widgets. What do you take? You take a list of widgets. So now, for this thing, it doesn't make any sense because we aren't returning anything. Like person widget returns a widget, we know, but we should also include a statement, right, where we try to return it. Just calling a function doesn't make sense. So this is wrong. And then this is something like we have a list, but we cannot return something in the again, the another option that I would have used, there's no return statement, so I would have just removed this. And even if I had the return statement, it doesn't make sense in like uh, having a multiple widgets in the how do I say it? Mm, uh, I think so. You guys leave this. I'll cover it in the next session when we go over the row because I'll have to show you. And then this is the right way to do it. This is also not the right way because you are not returning anything. But yeah, here you are like returning a person visit n times. So we are returning a list. So I'll see into this. I'll surely cover this in the next because I'll have to explain one concept over here to make you guys understand. Otherwise, it would be just like superficial. Okay, now the function is a predefined method in Dart. Which of these functions did you find like in Dart? Like this main, right? So main is a function that it's like predefined. So predefined is its properties and all everything is defined before itself. So that is why we have the main function as a predefined method. It's a simple thing. Okay, consider the following function declaration void. Okay, void means the return type is void, which means nothing, and it's like empty. And then we have Fibonacci, which is the name of the function, and then we have a named parameter int n, and then in the function, all we are doing is we are just printing. So the syntax error there's a syntax error in this. I'll just copy this and I'll just show you guys. So the syntax error, let's see what is it. The syntax error is the parameter of n can't have a value of null because of its type, but the implicit default value is null. Okay, so what can I do? I can use required, which means that when I write required over here, required, what it will do is it will tell me that it will tell that particular user that you have to specify a value for this. If you because when if you and if it say required, then we can't escape giving him like the user can't escape write that function without specifying a value for that. So you'll have to like we can write the required function over here. Not in this way. It is just a second. Maybe calling. Meeting.
Hey, bro, Shashank, it should just be required end, right? Like without the keyword this.
You're on mute, Shashank.
Yeah, sorry guys, I had a call. Okay. So yeah. So now wait, what I have written here required this dot n, right? Now if I override, what does it show? Initializing formal parameters can only be using constructors. So constructors, they come in terms of classes. Okay, so we use it in cases of classes, but here we have a function, right? So you won't use this. We use required, but we won't use this because we aren't working with constructor. We are not assigning that particular variable somewhere, right? So that is why we just use required and the variable type and then the variable name. This solves the problem. So whenever if I invoke the function, right? If I write fibo, now see, can I write now see if this giving me an error because it's asking me the named parameter n is required, but there's no corresponding argument. So I'll have to write n and then I'll have to write 10. Okay, so this solves the error. Oh, another thing was assign a default value to n. Yes, we can do that. There itself, we can assign a default value, and so that that particular value will be followed. Another thing we could have done was another thing we could have done was we could have just made it this like uniform. So when would you use required this dot? So if I write class and if I write number and let's say you write int a and you are writing constructor number required this dot a. In this case, we write this dot a because we are sort of the anything that comes over here, we are assigning it to this particular parameter, this particular method parameter of this particular class. So now if I write number and if I write a and then I write 10, so now it's okay. So in case of functions, you won't use required this dot. You just write required in the other thing. But in case of numbers, you'll like in case of classes, you'll have to write this dot. You'll have to use this keyword. So that was a question answer to this question, and then we have.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
How does making the value nullable or having the question mark added after the data type int make a difference?
Okay, I'll tell you what. So the error that was coming was, okay, the error was the parameter n can't have a value of null because of its type, but the implicit default value is null. Okay. So what does it mean? First, we are defining the value of n as int, right? So what does it suggest? It suggests that n can't have a value of null. But the thing is, we aren't forcing the user to, pass on the value of n. So the thing is, n can be null. So see, if I'm not writing required, I think I could have just written Fibonacci and then I could have just like called this function, right? It doesn't show me an error, okay? Because I'm not asking the user to write, like forcing the user to pass the value of n. But when I make this nullable, which means n can have a value of null, which it automatically means that okay, even if I don't pass it, right? If I don't pass anything, uh, the value of n is automatically null somehow anyway because it's already initialized this way. So the compiler doesn't take any attention. Like if I write here, now I'll call it 2 times Fibonacci, and I'll write 10 over here. Okay, not I'll have to write a name parameter. So I'll write like this. So nothing. So as you can see, it printed null over here because the value of n is sort of defaulted to null. You can think of when I write int question mark, right? The default value of n becomes null because as I told you, if I write a question mark and I haven't initialized the variable, automatically the variable value is null. So even if the user doesn't pass anything, the compiler knows that it has some value for n that is null and it's allowed. So it doesn't care if I pass it or not. But if I pass it, then well and good, I'll get that number. If I don't, otherwise, if I don't pass it, then it's okay. But if I wouldn't have written this, now the compiler is like, you are writing here the n value of n can't be null, but you are also not forcing the user to pass the value. So that is why it's giving an error. Did you get it, Sonal?
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
So coming on to the next question, which we have is, what are the key advantages of Flutter or alternate frameworks? Oh, sorry. The question was, I think the question we framed it currently differently, wrong. So the question should have been find an equivalent, find an equivalent expression to the following. So what so what is happening over here? Let's see. So when I write here, it's basically returning the sum of A and B. But there's other ways that I can do it. Like, see, in a curly braces, you can execute some statements, right? You can write, okay, I'll print, I can print A, and then I can write print B. But several times you don't want to do it, and you just want to return these things and all. So that time you use what do you say? You use the arrow notation. What it does, you basically omit a return, and then it basically returns this particular thing. So when I run this, okay, these are not sum 9, 10. So what is happening over here? It's basically, you can think this as like the whole semi call the curly brackets with return. This is like sort of a replacement for that. So that is there. Why is it not working? Okay, yeah. Sorry. Print. So $19. The other things, they are not like here. We do not require 2 times of return. Here we aren't. We are passing sort of a different data type itself. So that is why this is the right answer. Okay. The next question, I think you guys can answer this, right? So there's option 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think at this point you guys can answer this. So quickly, just is A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4? Any? Okay, you guys saw the answer. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, A has been verified. Like A has been initialized as int A, which means that it can't be null. Whereas B has been initialized as int $B, which means that B can have a value of null. So that's as simple as that. So yeah, any doubts? I think that's the test. That's the end of the test. So we had some 30 responses, and yeah, you guys did well. You guys actually did pretty well. I think I released the answer tonight, and you guys would have gotten mail. Check your mail. You'll have your responses, and you will have the answer key also. So yeah, that was all about today's session. Any doubts, any suggestions, anything? If you guys even want an extra session, I am ready to take it, like in the coming days before next Sunday, because next Sunday we'll have another session, mandatory session. So speak out, guys.
Next week there is no session, right? It's on Jan 8th.
Oh yeah, sorry. Next, yeah, when is it? Jan?
8th.
When was the next session? 8. Okay. Next session is on Jan 8th, because I think you guys have your midsems, right? Or something. First years. All of you guys are your first years. Guys, now the session is over, right? Now I think you guys can speak. I won't. I'll ensure you I won't ask any questions regarding the session. So if that's the if nothing, you guys do not have any doubt, you guys can leave. The session is done for today. We will tell you guys about the assignment. We'll circulate a document as soon as possible, and you guys can start with your making your own app. So yeah, the meeting is officially done. If you guys have any doubts, you can stay and ask. Otherwise, yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. I'll end the session.